By the end of this video, you're going to see how a 200-page horror book has changed how I read because of the experience I've had with it. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever in your life been in a situation that didn't make sense? You were worried, anxious, and playing a scenario over and over in your head. Well, so does Arthur Kipps, the main protagonist in this story. Listen to this and see if this relates to you. For a long time, I did not move from the dark, wood-panelled hall. I wanted company, and I had none. Lights and warmth and a strong drink inside me. I needed reassurance. But more than anything else, I needed an explanation. Now, Arthur is referring to a creepy woman dressed in black haunting him. I don't think we can fully relate, but we can relate to the emotions at least. This book is just filled with nuggets of wee relatable moments like this one. But look, before we head to that creepy Elmarsh house covered with fog and doom and gloom, allow me to introduce myself. I'm James on a Hill. Here I talk about my favourite games and books that I like to immerse myself into and talk about the escapism I find in it in a positive manner. Like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more content like this and enjoy the odd dabble about a good game and book. With introductions out of the way, let's get into it. Chapter 1. Halloween, Jazz, Black Coffee and JBL Bluetooth headphones. Random chapter title, but it's my experience of reading this book for the first time. It was the lead up to Halloween. I had my £25 JBL headphones on, listening to a relaxed jazz playlist on Spotify whilst drinking black coffee. It was the lead up to Halloween, and the vibes were relaxed, cosy, and with the rain outside beating off the windows and the extra layers on a small novel in a dimmed light cafe was welcoming. This was basically my setup for my read through, and it was mostly in a cafe. This setup helped immerse me into this book as much as possible and took away the distractions of the outside world. The music you hear in the background of this video is the same music that engrossed me and held my attention throughout the story. When I think about this book, I can smell the black coffee. When I think about walking through the empty, cold and dusty hallways of Elmarsh House, I can hear the subtle piano notes coming in, or when walking across the estuary covered in fog and that dull greyness that surrounds it, I can taste the bitter caramel and chocolate notes that are found in the black coffee that I drank. This was an experience that changed how I read because I never previously put the effort into making reading a book more immersive. I would have just read a book any place and any time. This deep work or deep focus method of reading made a massive difference with this ghost story. Chapter 2. Meeting the Woman in Black. The first time we meet the Woman in Black is at the funeral of Mrs. Drablow, a recently deceased lady in which Arthur has been sent to sort out the affairs of. The Woman in Black is attending the funeral and only he can see her. The way that Susan Hill describes her is really impressive because it's not so much a scary description, but more so a description of someone who is sick and deathly like. Listen to this. She was suffering from some terrible eating disease. But not only was she extremely pale, even more than contrast with the blackness of her garments could account for, but the skin, and it seemed only the thinnest layer of flesh gauntly stretched and strained across her bones, so that it was gleamed with a curious blue-white sheen, and her eyes seemed sunken back into her head. It's only after we find out that Arthur didn't actually see a mourning relative here, and that in actual fact he has just witnessed a ghost, that her description comes to life. It becomes hauntingly real, and it gets scary. This moment in the book really filled me with a sense of unease. I felt a sense of discomfort for not knowing who this woman was and why she looked the way that she did. On top of this, I was filled with the questions like, who is she? Why is she at the funeral? And why is she so sickly looking? Is this Mrs. Drablow? Who is this woman? We are only on page 53 here, and already we are getting set up for an experience. Prior to this scene, Arthur has spent the night at the local inn in the village square where he meets locals that are superstitious in their mannerisms. They seem like they are holding back with information when discussing the matters of Mrs. Drablow and Elmarsh House where she lived. There is tensions brewing, and I began to get invested. I think with any book, if you're not sold in the first 2 chapters, the chances are you probably won't be. But with this book, we are shown things without being told. We are living in the head of Arthur Kipps, who begins as an unsuspicious person as stated in page 6 and 7, where it says, Indeed, since those earlier experiences, I had deliberately avoided all contemplation of any remotely non-material matters and clung to the prosaic, the visible, and the tangible. Arthur soon changes his tune, and how he feels is later on in page 96 and 97, where he says, I knew now that I had entered some hitherto unimagined, indeed unbelieved in realm of consciousness, that coming to this place had already changed me, and that there was no going back. I really felt immersed as the story went on because I could feel the change within Arthur. I could feel the change within myself as a reader, and this was a parallel experience. I have to give compliments to Susan Hill here, as there isn't much guesswork to be done. It's easy in a way. The experience Arthur is going through isn't hidden or unknown. It's at the forefront and shown clearly. This makes it believable and relatable. Chapter 3. Obsessed or Possessed. Once we see Arthur stay overnight at Elmarsh House, we begin to really see the supernatural come into play. This is the part of the book that I became totally obsessed with. I didn't want to know where the story was going. I needed to know. There is a scene where Arthur had come across a nursery room in the house, and a nursing chair is rocking by itself. This creeped me out, but what creeped me out even more was when I went into my son crying in the middle of the night and he was staring at the nursing chair. It was one of them moments I couldn't separate reality and escapism. We connected through full-on immersion. The great thing about the book is that it is small and the chapters are short. I was able to read in shorter periods and feel content with the break in scene. It gave me time to soak in all that happened in the previous chapter and what could potentially happen in the upcoming one. Everything was amplifying. The lady in black was getting creepier, Arthur was getting more fearful and distressed, and we were getting some answers to what exactly was going on. Arthur began to show his true character, as well as we see his bravery and his determination to get to the bottom of the supernatural occurrences. Just as important as the first two chapters of a book, I believe it's important to maintain the interest midway. This wasn't a book I was going to leave half finished. It wasn't going to collect dust and be that sad book that didn't get fully read. It was a book that I forced myself to savour and not rush. Time sitting in suspense was time escaped. Chapter 4. Beyond the last chapter. Coming up to the last 2 pages, I thought to myself, man, how is this story going to wrap up in 2 pages? I actually got a bit worried thinking it was going to be a bad ending, but I was wrong. That last paragraph on page 200 hit me like a ton of bricks. What a way to end a story. I felt shocked and was left with a word that I couldn't stop repeating in my head, and that word was but. In the years that I've read books and I've played games, there has always been those special stories that are different and just stick. They are an experience that I can't replicate again. The first playthrough or the first read-through is a special moment. It's filled with wonder, enjoyment, and full-on immersion. This book showed me that I can get more from a book by taking away the distractions and adding things to help immerse me. It showed me that a short book with short chapters can be as immersive as a 7-book fantasy series with thousands of pages. It showed me that slowing down and intentionally reading can open a story up and create depth that may not be noticeable at first. That taking time in between chapters to think and digest can improve the experience and make it all more potent and rich. If I was to finish this video on one bit of advice, I'd say this. For your next read, try to enhance your experience. Put your phone on Do Not Disturb, tidy up your reading space, make a cup of tea, and forget about everything else. Thank you for watching today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. All the best.